This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 853 for the week of Monday, January 27th, 2025. My name is Zach.
My name is Ed.
And on today's show, we have our anime recap host when the anime is around. It's been weird that it hasn't been. We have Sam Leach with us. How's it going there, Sam? How you doing?
I don't even know what an anime is.
Can't even begin to explain that to you, Sam. But I'm sure we'll talk about Jujutsu Kaisen in a second, so that'll make you, that'll perk your ears up. We also have the artist for today's episode, as well as Eisner Award-nominated artist, author of Mermin, Dragon Racer. I always do these off the top of my head. Let's see. Mermin, Dragon Racer, Ghost Hog, the newest one. Why don't you say it, Joey? Joey Weiser's with us, Joey.
Yeah, thank you. The Littlest Fighter on sale in March, so now's a perfect time to pre-order that, and I'll be talking all about that at the end of the show. But how about at the beginning of the show, I say, go ahead, pre-order The Littlest Fighter from Oni Press.
You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to promote. And last but not least, we had her on back in July. Nothing has really happened since July, but we have Krystal Shanelle with us once again. How's it going, Krystal?
Going good. Happy to be here for this chapter specifically. Very excited. But yeah, going good.
Yeah, you picked a good one. The last one was in the middle of Vegapunk recordings. I wasn't here for some of those. I left when they had started, and I came back before they finished from my paternity leave. So that just tells you how long that speech went.
Yeah, crazy.
It was a good speech, but it went on for a while.
A bit.
Yeah. So, Krystal, how's everything? How's the One Piece world for you been?
Honestly, since the anime stopped, I haven't been as up to date. Like, I was up to date, like, manga-wise, and then I took a break. Because also, there's been, like, a lot of on and off, so I was like, I'm just gonna wait, actually. But then, for the podcast, I was like, okay, now's my time. I must re-up my information. So it's been a cool, like, this whole day I've been like rereading. So it's been pretty cool to be like, oh, so this is what's been going on. And now my Shanks conspiracy theory has more information for it. So very excited to talk about it.
Did you have that conspiracy?
Perfect.
Not to spoil it immediately, but whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're listening to this, but
Sounds
did you have
good.
that conspiracy? Did you have that conspiracy theory when it first came up, or is this?
I've always like, Shanks is evil. I don't know how I'm gonna prove this, but that man, there's something wrong with him. And now we'll talk about it later. But God, my plans.
Kind of. You're half right.
We were calling you Liquid Shanks.
Right. That's what it was.
That's hilarious.
That's true. And what was the other one? I don't even remember. We did a lot of those. Before we get into the show, there was actually a lot of, I don't know why I'm saying it like that. There was actually a lot of One Piece news. We'll start first with the thing that, us real nerdy One Piece fans pay attention to, and that's that Oda has a new editor.
It was in the author comments this week at viz.com.
Oh, yeah, why don't you read it? Yeah, Ed,
I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. Junya Fukuda said he is the new editor. He worked on Black Clover and Jujutsu Kaisen. Oda's comment is, "I got a new editor. Thanks for everything, Anayama-san," who is the one who just passed the torch. "Welcome to the team, Fukuda-san." So that is, I think, the way that all the clickbait websites post it is someone else knows what the One Piece is, because all his editors have to know that. And so another person we could extort for information about. No, a real One Piece fan knows that you need the surprise. We can't. Sam, I know you're our resident Jujutsu Kaisen head. Is there?
I don't know what stretch
editor?
he was the editor for.
I think a lot of it,
Because I was looking for that information. Like, he's not the starting one, but that's all I know. I don't know when that handoff was. So.
Well,
but and that could mean nothing. Like what fingerprints is the editor leaving on something like that? I don't know.
And One Piece, like, that's a big question I have, is like, at this point, how much sway do editors have over Oda at this point? You know, they may be just kind of logistics guys at this point, making sure he's on time and figuring out his schedule and everything. But I kind of assume it's similar to like what happened with Dragon Ball, where as time went on, the editors have kind of less and less say.
I always imagine their role as being like sounding boards.
Yeah.
I imagine the role being like the one who's cracking the whip. Like, you got to get to the, you got to get this done now. Like, who else could talk to Oda like that? You know, like, I feel like only the editor or maybe someone really high up at Shueisha.
And the previous, the editor for One Piece who's leaving now, how long had he been with us?
He's been since 2023.
No, Sam, don't talk about him like he's dead.
How long was he?
I mean, like, how long had he been on One Piece?
Wait, I had just looked this up and I had it. They don't usually last more than because they move on to other positions. It's like it's a temporary thing. I think it was 2023. I'm looking right now, according to the wiki, which we did a whole article on this, and I'm hoping to do one on our website again with Kirsten. So February 2023, we interviewed Takeru Isaki. Sasaki Isashi was the head of Shonen Jump for a while.
That was around the beginning of the podcast.
And now he works at Viz. And for those who need like a quick refresher, Hattori the pigeon was named after one of the editors.
That was the one who was half French, Akira Jean-Baptiste Hattori.
Yeah. Wow. Did you do that off the top of your head?
I did remember his name, yes.
Yeah, that's a very specific.
True fan.
Yes, big pigeon fan. Takeru Saka we interviewed back in 2013. He was there for 4 years. Yeah, that was really amazing. It's part of our feature-length documentary that's free and available on our site that I don't talk about enough.
On our Patreon, right?
No, it's free. OPPJapan.com.
Yeah.
For all. I think we have some stuff on Patreon, like commentary and deleted scenes and stuff.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you for. I hate promoting myself. But yeah, that usually though it's like a 2-year gig because they're usually very young, and it's usually like one of their first big jobs at Shueisha is where I was going. Although not the case here, I guess, because he was at other series. Any other thoughts on the editor? Sorry, I talked about that longer than I. The next piece of news. Do we have Law fans here with us today?
Law's okay.
Cool guy.
I felt very happy for Joe when I heard this news.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
The first Law novel, was there two or called. Oh no, I'm sorry. I thought it was called Embark on Trafalgar Law, but that's not. That was just the beginning of the message. It's just called Law's Story, written by Shusei Sakagami, is coming out in the fall. That
in English.
Yes, it's been out in Japanese for. It started in the magazine and it's been out for a bit.
Yeah, I think we got that Ace novel in English a couple of years ago, I think.
And then the Boichi version of the Ace novel.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the reaction. So that's exciting. I think the big news that really got everyone moving, though, this week was that there's a collaboration with Lego that's going to be happening with the
I was very excited.
Series. I think we all were very excited, especially me. Now that
And I think I saw some people were interpreting, or someone had read something on Netflix's site where the second season of the live action will come out before the end of the year.
Adele mentioned that on our. I think that had been, well, first of all, when else is it gonna? I very highly doubt 2026 for the live action, but
yeah,
we'll see. But yeah, what were you gonna say, Krystal? Sorry.
Is it? And also the anime, the remake is coming out this year too, right? Or I know it said
so.
I know it said speculated release 2025, not solidified.
Oh, you mean that's One Piece?
Yeah.
I think
One Piece,
so.
This year is realistic, I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, the year.
Well, they were showing all those
a month in.
that production art during One Piece Day, right? That was back in July.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was that back in July? Oh my god!
It's not that often that they announce an anime. And
I was still in the
years
hospital
for it
back
to
then.
actually...
I think when One Piece Day was happening.
Glad you're not since anymore. Okay, so that makes
And these the Lego sets, to get back to the Lego sets, they seem to be tied in with the Netflix
Legos.
series.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how it was promoted with the Netflix theme song and stuff too. So,
and the drawing that
why.
Oda did, you could tell it's a little Inyakier than your usual Luffy, I guess. If that's an adjective now. He said, even Lego sets are coming. I'll just read it because you could sense his excitement, and I feel like even now I have dozens of Lego box sets piled up at my workplace that I haven't even gotten time to dig into. There's no cooler toy out there. For 25 years since the anime started, I've been asking for a Lego toy. And finally, my dream is being fulfilled with the live-action collection. Thank you to the Lego group. Woohoo! You can bet I'll be building and displaying them. We had like a whole mini arc about Lego, so I assume he knew this was in the works when he did that.
Maybe he went to Sweden or to Denmark for like.
Yeah. That would be cool.
Research purposes.
It being specifically the live action version is strange to me. It's like releasing like cherry Coke when there isn't a regular Coke.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. I wonder why they chose to do live action before the actual anime.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess like Netflix is involved in the licensing.
Yeah. Versus Toei. I assume it would be. I think Toei does like everything else.
Well, Toei is like the master merchandise licensing for the entire property, right? Not Shueisha. Toei.
They got the merchandise rights. The
merchandising. Spaceballs. Exactly. Watch Spaceballs.
Maybe. So yeah. Lots of good stuff happening. I'm excited. They're all happening sometime in 2025, maybe. The Legos, we didn't have a date for, right? Did we? I don't know.
I didn't see anything regarding a date for that.
No, I don't think so. But I assume if season 2 comes out later this year, it would be probably timed with that.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Okay, with that out of the way, we have some doppelganger stuff to get into here. Chapter 1137. We'll join you on the other side of the break.
All right.
Let's do it.
This is the manga recap for Chapter 1137, introducing Shamrock. We begin this special St. Patrick's Day episode of the One Piece podcast with a cover story ad. I got that joke out of the way here. We don't have to do that again.
Or if you're a Damian Marley fan, you could say, "Welcome to Shamrock." So, if you're a reggae fan. Anyway, sorry. I'll move on. To
Shamrock, the company from Halloween 3 Season of the Witch?
So
I'll see myself out.
The cover page. It's Ogre Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage, Volume 23. Infiltrate the sketchy hideout, and we got some horned dudes inside of a sort of a Japanese-looking.
Those are not horns. Those are ears.
Ears, yeah, whatever. And
they're cat ears or something.
Yeah,
the cat ear. Yeah.
And we got Tama and Yamato slinking in the sliding door with the paper. They gotta go through Simpson style. Just barge in.
Oh yeah, that's how you go through the paper walls.
Yeah,
I think with like 2 weeks of buildup of it seeming more and more obvious that it's who's hideout, it's making me think that it's not who's who, that it's going to be somebody who has co-opted who's hideout and men.
That would explain the cat ears.
No, the cat ears would who's who if it was who's who. Yeah,
right.
I agree. They're so cute with those cat ears. These random goons are just adorable.
Yeah, I guess on the other hand, if it were who's who, we could get another opportunity to see him get his ass handed to him by some kick-ass friends of Luffy's. So that would be cool.
Doesn't Yamato have sort of a dog-based fruit? Dogs and cats.
That's true.
That's true. Right. I think we meant more because he's a racist son of a bitch.
He's an asshole.
It'd be great to see him get walloped again. Yeah, asshole. Yeah, that works too. Yeah, I wonder where this is going. I mean, that panel is actually very funny of Tama and Yamato sneaking their heads in there. It's a good out of context panel. If it were a little less sketchy, but
just a little.
Yeah. Any other comments on these random? God, it's they look like the guy on the left looks like what's his like the big strong silent type who doesn't really have a brain cell.
He's just there to hang out.
Yeah. I'll let
like
Steve
Mice
do that
and Men
impression.
or something.
Yeah, that's of Mice and Men. That's what I was trying to think of.
Lenny?
Of cats
Lenny.
and goons. I don't know.
Of cats and goons. Yeah. Okay, I'll write it down, but I won't pick that. Krystal, you could start us out.
All right. So we see the wide shot of the castle. In the 14 years since King Harold's death, no one has dared approach the castle. It's up in the sky, looking very untouched or unapproached. We see the group heading up to the door. It's got a big hole, gaping hole from the previous people who tried to get inside. We have Rodo saying, well, I thought so, but apparently someone broke into the door and none of the guards are here. And I think this is Nami saying, so is this a bad sign then? Which has never stopped Luffy from doing anything.
If anything.
If anything, he's like, oh, that makes me want to do it more. Zoro saying, intruders? But these doors were broken from the inside. We'll figure it out when we get inside. And then Luffy just cares about the keys. And he's like, wow, this destruction looks so fresh and cool. I don't really care. And then Rodo's like, please, I actually don't want to go in. I want to not do this. And then the Straw Hats are kind of just admiring the castle, saying it's so huge and can't even see the ceiling because it's way too big. And Luffy's looking for the keys once again. Rodo saying, I'm just a common man. I've never been inside the castle. And Nami, kind of sweet talking, saying, but we're so very lucky to have you with us. And then he's like, oh my God, really? Ultra rare, Nami? This is so awesome coming from you. Is this Zoro saying, I was just singing the same thing onward? Yes. And that's first 2 pages.
Not the ultra rare Nami part, hopefully.
Yeah, surely not Zoro. But yeah, I think this is, I like how, well, I guess you would get more into that into the chapter, but kind of like how they left the castle. No one's been there since, I don't know when, but I think that's pretty interesting. Especially, also the guards not being there. Where are they?
Why were they there? If there's no one who goes in there, what were those guards doing? Interesting.
Where are they now?
Protecting the ghosts.
Why? What keys? Or is like treasure keys? Is that what Luffy's looking for? Like, I don't remember keys.
I think he's looking for the keys to Loki's cuffs, right?
That would make sense because they were talking about the cuffs on the
You're right.
ship.
You're right. Okay. Yeah. I don't know why I would put those together. That's not going to end well, Pop. Or it could end well. Who knows?
Or it might.
I don't know what that noise was. So we move on. By the way, does anyone know what Allrust Castle might refer to? I have no idea. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong too. Anyway.
I don't know.
No, I don't.
I've been playing too much Zelda lately because this is all I'm thinking about right now. And as they walk through the castle grounds, and we see it's like almost Siem Reapy, like the for those like the Cambodian ruins of castles where like they're overgrown trees on top of it. It's very cool.
Yeah.
I love that panel. It's so cool.
Me too.
Like, I mean, that's all the assistants just being awesome as always, but I love that there's no panel border, but it like abruptly cuts off around the edges. It's a really
It kind of
cool
looks like
effect.
something out of Delicious in Dungeon,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
totally
that
does
too.
look like Delicious in Dungeon.
I think Ranking of
environments.
Kings was talked a lot about as well. I think it's European castle lore, medieval, like kind of. It's very, very nice, this panel. The assistants, I want to know who they are. They deserve a lot of credit, generally. Anyway, this page. So this is what it's like in here. I'm overcome with both fear and wonder. That's presumably Rodo.
Yeah.
And I assume Zoro is asking if all this destruction is from the intruders, and Rhoda responds, "No, King Harold passed after a vicious battle with Loki, and you are seeing the scars of that fight."
It seems like between the fight between the two of them, it should have been even more destroyed.
Yeah. I wonder if it would be interesting if someone had Ryokukyu's fruit here, and that's why it's so overgrown. But I think it's probably just time. Zoro saying, that's some serious devastation then. And Roto responding that, yeah, Loki's a monster, but King Harold, he was also pretty cool, you know? Destruction was inevitable. And Luffy gasps as he sees something, and Nami gasps for different reasons because it's horrifying. A giant graveyard lays before them, a brook, all of them. Now, there's giant skeleton heads strewn about the floor of this room with two giant swords, one of which Luffy is perched atop. What do you call that? The hilt, I guess. Of the
crossguard.
Yeah, you know what? That's for this kind of sword. I think a Japanese sword would be a hilt, right? More. Anyway. And Luffy notes that it looks like a giant graveyard. And Roto continues being the exposition giant here, saying, naturally, there were more soldiers in the castle. Loki slew over 100 stout warriors. The only survivors among the castle were Chief Yarul and Loki himself. And to be fair, Chief Yarul did have a sword through his head, so I don't know how much...
Jarul, yeah.
Yarul? I thought it was with a Y. Anyway.
Kinda, yeah.
It was, and saying it was so shocking, so bloody, that it was determined that we're just not going to go back in there ever again. And maybe now the vengeful spirits are... By the way, Luffy is on top of one of those skulls, desecrating it, saying, hey, check it out, you guys, look how big this guy's head was. As he climbs the skull's horns. And we're definitely going to talk about this at the end of the show, because this is something we have brought up a ton. Saying, Roto just telling us that these were ancient giants, or they had blood of the ancient giants, but there are no longer any pure bloods. Let's not think about Little Oars Jr.
Yes, this is the episode where Elbaf gets horny.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, you got that one. But still have traces of it in their history. And saying, in fact, King Harold himself was very large and mighty. You see, now I'm going to be taking this all out of context. Sam.
Speaking of, Roto says, oh, look up. I haven't seen that visage in years. That is a portrait of King Harold, the man who loved peace and attempted to bridge the gap between Elbaf and the rest of the world. The greatest king in the history of Elbaf, they say. And they're looking up at a big, king's portrait of a man with a Waluigi mustache and a big spiky beard.
And
this is the man who loves peace. This guy.
It's 2 scars on his forehead.
2 scars on his forehead. He's holding the sword, looking very serious. But he has 2 large, notable, splotchy scars on his head, which they comment on,
and the tattoo going across his eyes like Ridley, right? Ripley.
Like Kratos.
And Kratos.
Yeah, and the tattoo ends where the skin would have been ripped off with the horns.
True. Gross.
The scarring on his head is where he ripped out his horns, the mark of his ancient giant blood. And then we get this little kind of representative silhouette of a horned giant. Possibly, I guess this is what Harold looked like pre-dehorning. And Roto is saying, to him, the ancient giants were a reminder of our era of war. And Luffy's like, whoa, he had horns? And Zoro is muttering to himself, like, that takes serious guts. He's thinking about the time he almost cut his
I was going to say his legs off. It's definitely Whiskey Pink.
That's so funny.
That guy's so cool.
That was Little Garden.
What did I say? Whiskey Pink? Yeah. Little Garden, thank you.
And they're continuing to walk. Rodo's carrying them, walking through the room. His Majesty's death was a shock to all, but it was the hardest upon the other son of King Harold, Haruden, who had the most cause to hate Loki for his actions. And this is a big shock to Luffy. He's like, huh, really? Haruden? And Nami says, he and Loki are brothers? Which is a shock to us as well. And Rodo says, yes, but from different mothers. Haruden was born to another woman prior to Harold's marriage to the queen. You see, Elbaf did not allow for Haruden's mother to be queen. Nami asks, how come? And Rodo says, she was from a different giant nation. And Zoro says, what does that matter? They're all giants. They're all the same, right?
And Ed?
Yes. And Rodo says, we're all giants? Do you humans not wage war over land and resources as well? And Zoro's like, oh, yeah.
That was a very funny, like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure who says it. Maybe this is Rodo saying it. Giants from other areas will tarnish the blood of Elbaf. And Nami chimes in to say, you have really bigoted views about other giants and humans. And I guess this is Rodo again saying, oh, but you're different. And she says, don't suck up to me, scum. I love this whole exchange right here. That's great. And Zoro continues, so if Haruden's blood is tarnished, why do you ride with his crew? And Rodo sort of trails off. He's like, because we have a flashback to Rodo's childhood where other children are like, Rodo the nerd, what a creep, and he's getting bullied. So, and then I guess this is Haruden saying, wow, this is amazing. And he says, you can draw sea charts? Show me how to do it. You want to be my friend? Huh? Friend? I guess Rodo's never had a friend before. So
you just heard we are for the first
oddly
time.
Sweet, you know?
Yeah.
We're no Rodo fans here, but this kind of touched my heart a bit.
Rodo says, unlike me, he is a truly honest and straightforward man. Despite being unable to live in the castle with his father and seeing the way his mother was tormented, he withstood all of that pain and said, I want to unify all of giant kind. I'm the man who'll be king of all giants. And Rodo's like, I want to help this dream come true. And I'm not sure who is saying this next line, but it says
Zoro.
And Zoro says, so you can be reasonable after all. Kind of boring. Rude.
Yeah, how dare you have multiple dimensions?
Yeah. And then I guess this is Luffy jumping around saying, hey, come check it out. Some giants are knocked out over here. Presumably these are the giants who got knocked out a couple chapters ago.
Yeah.
What were they doing in there? Sam.
We cut to the underworld of Elbaf, where we hear a big is it sinking yet? And we got Loki taking a beating, wheezing, huffing. I told you already, I can't move. And Liquid Shanks says, it doesn't change our question. And Gunko says, a member of the common rabble receiving a chance to join the ranks of gods is a miracle one can only dream of. And we are offering you that miracle now. And we get the what you call it? What do you call that perspective? Foreshortening.
The worm's eye view. Yeah.
And I was looking for
foreshortening.
I think, yeah, foreshortening is the word I was looking for.
And there's like some arrow shaped, like it was like streamers circling around.
Yeah, those boots were made for stomping.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's got giant. It's Are her feet also bigger, or is it just the perspective that's because it's
Both?
small?
I think it's the arrows are wrapping around and creating mass, like creating these big shoes.
Yes, we're worm's eye view looking up at this woman on giant stilts.
Yeah.
High heels,
arrows.
She's a stilt woman. Yeah, that should be her power.
Stomping on the viewer and stomping on the ground, and that's like bringing an arrow to come up and shoot at Loki. But then another arrow comes up and I guess diverts the first arrow. And Loki's like, "Oh, okay, so your foot's gonna accelerate to kick my right cheek, and after I've turned the other way." Oh, so it's like drawing the path of her attacks, basically.
By the way, if you're not blindfolded, how is this helpful? I don't get it at all.
Does Loki have some sort of hockey for?
I assume,
yeah, foreseeing things.
Well, you see, when you lose your eyesight, your other senses,
and that's hockey,
including your arrow feeling something.
Sam, let's take a step back. He didn't lose his eyesight. He is blindfolded, as far as we know.
But I mean, if you're blindfolded for years, like the same thing is going to happen. You're still going to compensate.
I suppose.
So Loki's saying, "You'll give me an uppercut. You'll give me an uppercut with that fist of yours. Thanks for the heads up." And then Gunko says, "Those arrows are the confirmed path of my very future, a declaration of unavoidable violence. But it is possible for me to change course."
Joey.
And then on the next page, she continues saying that she is asking him again, "Will you join the Holy Knights?" And here she goes walking along the path of one of those arrows that she has drawn in her big, long shoes. But his answer is, "Hell no, moron." And this makes her suddenly run, I suppose, or maybe kind of like skate up those arrows. And give him a swift kick to the cheek, as foretold, with her giant shoe. And as she's twisting around, I suppose the arrows are starting to wrap around her arms, and she suddenly has a giant fist now that she uses to indeed land that uppercut. And then
I will say, this is a classic, like, One Piece, what the hell is this power?
This power is a total JoJo's power.
It seems like Mr. Three's power, but with arrows instead of wax.
It's much more abstract and kind of like mind bending than I'm used to powers from One Piece being. It's very interesting. It doesn't entirely work for me. I'm kind of waiting to see more, but it's interesting for sure.
Yes, agreed. Agreed on both counts.
And we can talk about this a bit more because on the next page, he's reeling from this beating that he just had. Loki is, and we cut to a bear and some of the other beasts. And a thing that I think is interesting here is we see the arrows kind of sticking into them, and they have like a 3-dimensional quality, which is interesting. And he's hacking and coughing and wheezing, and he's telling her that she will regret this as she continues to spin arrows, and there's just like a whole fleet of arrows all pointing at the center of his face. And he says to stop, enough already. And she asks him again if he will join them, to which he says, "Nyah," sticking his tongue out.
Excellent.
And
suddenly love Loki now.
All is forgiven.
Yeah, exactly. How you murdered your entire family and 100 other people. You did stick your tongue out at a bunch of fascists, so that's pretty cool.
Give it a little nya. And so then what follows is a bunch of sounds of him continuing to be beaten as he's screaming, and we see kind of a far away cut of the island. And then transition back to after the beating. The second cloaked figure is sitting there in silence as Gunko
with a big sword.
Yeah, he's got a big sword, and there's another one of those kind of 3-dimensional arrows sticking into one of the beasts behind him, and he says, "That's enough, Gunko."
Those arrows kind of look like table legs when they're sticking in.
Yeah, they're very odd.
Yes,
it's like it seems like the arrows can also be an image of the trajectory that she's about to go on, but they can also be solid objects that she uses to like create giant gloves or to pierce people
or shoes.
I like the segmented like trailing effect is still preserved in 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that helps to kind of communicate what those are, because otherwise they wouldn't look like the arrows at all. It's interesting.
Makes sense. Yeah.
It's the most fourth wall-y power I think I've ever seen in the series. Like,
honestly, after Gear 5, I'm kind of like anything. Like this kind of tracks. Honestly, it definitely gives me Gear 5.
You know what? Maybe
I
all
just
powers from
kind
now
of
on.
question like the point of them. If she's even saying like, well, this can change. It doesn't necessarily have to be the arrows I set out.
Oh my
like,
God,
the
it's
future
King
can still be
Crimson.
Changed. Sorry, go ahead.
Or, it's King Crimson from JoJo.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah,
it's very JoJo's.
It is very JoJo's. I love JoJo's. I'll say that. But it's a bizarre adventure. This is, well, it's pretty bizarre. Adventure.
One Piece, famously not bizarre.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and just say
Luffy's banal
Gunko's Bizarre
adventures.
Adventure.
Crazy, noisy, bizarre Elbaf.
I like it. Krystal, go ahead.
Okay, and then we get the hood off of the hooded character, and it's Shanks. Question mark? Not really. It's not really Shanks.
Shanks, but even hotter. Look at that.
Shanks with long hair and a braided back ponytail. And the fit is also very fire, very knight-ish, which would explain. Okay, so he says, "Let's change tactics. Contact." I never know how to pronounce this. Marijoa. Is that correct?
I think that's close enough.
Close enough.
I think
Usually
it's
Mary Joa or
we say Mary Joa.
is like
I think
Mary
Mary
Joa
Joa
is like the French
technically.
way, I guess.
Yeah.
One of those words. That's who they're going to contact. And then he says, "I'm sick of all of these useless people. I'd hoped we would have settled this. We could have settled this much more cleanly. Indeed, it seems he'd rather die than join us." Is this some religious thing? I think that's what she's saying. And then in the little identifying box, it says, "Commander of the Holy Knights, World Noble Figureland." Okay, cool. I'm getting a nod. Figureland Shamrock.
I hate that last name, first name. Yeah, but go on.
Son of Saint Garling, 5 elders. Dun dun dun. Yeah. Crazy. Wow.
What's that line from The Simpsons? Like, is this some religious thing? It's like a religious clown thing.
Do you think he braided his hair for Elbaf? Because it feels very
on theme.
On theme, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe much like Usopp, he's also, what do we call it? An Elbibaboo instead of a Weeaboo and
He's really into their culture.
Maybe he's really into giants.
He was on the ship, like, no, you don't understand.
Well, it better look good. Well, they didn't even need the ship. They went straight there.
He's got the knee-high boots and he's wearing, looks like he's wearing tight pants.
Yeah, he came very prepared. The fit is very clean.
Yeah.
And then we get close up. She's staring off to the side of him. The vicious warriors of Elbaf, who conquered the New World long ago. And then we're getting a shot of the island. And then another insert of Holy Knights, Gunko, Arrow Woman, Arrow Fruit. So she's the Arrow Lady. And what is? Oh, and then we see Loki just head down, beat up, bloody, not saying anything. And then another close-up of not Shanks, Shamrock, saying, "Will be brought under the command of the world government once and for all. Dun, 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 to be continued." That's where we are.
Yeah, no, that's the end of that chapter. Krystal, I'll start with you. What did you think of the evil twin chapter?
So I thought it was really cool. I wasn't I know I had saw something on Twitter. Someone was like, "I knew Shanks was a celestial dragon." I said, "No, wait, no, please shut up, stop talking." And then so when I saw this, I said, okay, so this is his twin brother or brother that just looks very, very similar like him. And then this kind of defeated my Shanks is evil kind of thing because I was like, well, he already has an evil brother, so I don't know if Oda would do Shanks is secretly evil when you actually have an evil brother. So I was like, man, my plan.
Two evil brothers.
You could, Sanji had a thing going up, but I'm like, maybe Shanks is Sanji in the whole
and Corazon.
evil. Yeah, so I was like, no, this is terrible for my narrative of what One Piece was. But I do think this is pretty cool that they have lookalikes, and I think it would be very interesting to see if there's any mix-ups that have happened in the history of like One Piece and stuff. We're like, oh, I thought you were Shanks, or I accused Shanks of doing this thing, but it was actually you. So I think that's pretty interesting. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
If you have more, you could. It doesn't just have to be about if there's things about the chapter.
That was the biggest thing.
No, yeah. Well, you could circle back if there's more things that pop up. Let's see, Sam. Thoughts on the chapter?
I enjoyed the chapter. I am very invested in learning about the origins of like horns in characters. Because my theory is like it's not just because we have like lots of characters who have shared characteristics of different races, right?
Like Kaido and Yamato.
Yeah, Kaido and Yamato. I've been like proposing this theory that even like Caesar Clown and like Mary from East Blue, are like also kind of like distant descendants of whatever like the horned tribe was. As well as like any horned giants and like dovetailing into that, I've been thinking that even just like stuff like tall humans, like abnormally tall humans, probably have a giant gene somewhere in their family history, or like maybe the different styles of horns are like the different styles of wings from the Sky Islands. So like that's interesting. Figureland Shamrock. What do I think of this guy?
Do we even go through the name and what we think of the name?
Oh yeah, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it makes sense that it starts with the Sha sound because
yeah.
Shanks and Shamrock could be a twin brother.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I should have asked Steven if there was a Japanese pun on that.
I was wondering like what the connection between their two names are, and that's good. I like. Because otherwise, I couldn't think of one besides.
It's
Shamrock
not really.
Shakes.
It's not really Garling. Yeah. There is no consistent family naming thing here.
Other than the Figureland part.
Right. Well, that is the family name.
It's kind of interesting that we have this like what feels like a twin brother, but we've also just been talking a lot about clones lately. So it's like we're still kind of stirring in that mystery, like that Schrodinger's twin clone.
So are you saying he's the Boba Fett of One Piece? The perfect clone?
maybe he is, or maybe
Oda does like the prequels, so that is not outside the
clone of my own.
maybe Garling is the big boss here.
Yeah.
Boy, Gunko gives me a lot of thoughts and feelings.
Would you like to share those with us here?
No.
Okay.
Well, no. Okay. So she's like the clashing design choices is a lot, but I'm it hasn't lost me other than maybe the heterochromia feels like a detail too many, but maybe that's going to turn out to mean something. Or
I don't know. I love heterochromia just as a thing. But I agree. I get it. It's like a hat.
Well, it feels like, yeah, like it just sort of feels like we're, like there's this kind of design trend of like VTuber mix and match character designs, which like I thought Oda was kind of going for with Uta even.
Yeah, well, that makes more sense because that's kind of what we said it was. I think Steven said is a Soul Eater design, and I can't unsee that now.
She makes me think of Cyborg 009.
Yeah, I do see that a little. a little bit. The outfit, like the top or the,
yeah.
She doesn't have anything else, so that,
Yeah, she's a mix of a lot of my favorite girls. You can like pull like design details and personality details. Like there's
even Caesar Clown. There's a little Caesar.
Even
Clown.
Caesar Clown. Well, there's she's got the mask like ulti. She's got kind of the weird like psycho personality. She's got like the short Lilith hair. She's got the hat, but it's like but also like it's a
the koala.
So it's like, but it's also like a very kind of like fashy outfit, which is like a docked point. But wearing no pants in winter is psycho stuff, and I like that. So,
yeah, you have to be crazy, even in the One Piece world. And you live in winter incarnate, so you would know. Any other thoughts, Sam?
I mean, I guess everything I just said you could translate also to my feelings about her power as just being like this strange clash of like this could be like super cool, or it could just be like it's appealing to a lot of my tastes, but like never quite getting there or something. I don't know what's gonna happen.
If that's
it's not a very scary power, honestly. Like what would be her like ultimate attack?
I don't know. I don't want an arrow pointing at me.
If it is King Crimson, she just has to like throw an arrow in like the back of her head and.
I'm trying to remember the King Crimson stuff. I do remember
he like punched his soul.
Right.
For a perspective, something like that. I don't know.
I remember being very formidable watching. It was part 5, right? King Crimson. Yeah, I like part 5. It wasn't bad. Had issues, but Joey.
It's JoJo's was my first kind of thought, like we've been saying about her powers, and it's kind of funny because she does kind of have that Jotaro hat, although it's not torn on the back. But I do think, like Sam was saying, it's kind of more like a military kind of, fascist-y kind of design, which maybe feeds into what I was talking about with the Cyborg 009, the kind of military button-down outfit thing. I'm not crazy about her power. I'm waiting to see. It kind of like doesn't quite gel with my ideas of like what kinds of powers people have in One Piece, but at the same time, I'm always happy to let Oda just like go ahead and do whatever he wants and see how it turns out. And that's what I like about One Piece, is this kind of adventurous, no limits spirit. So, I'm kind of just bumping up against it a little bit. It also is kind of like I was saying, she says that they're the confirmed future, but that she could change her mind at any moment. And so it's like, it kind of like already nerfs it a little bit. And
I would love to learn that this is the editor's first idea contribution.
Yeah, this was his idea.
Let's make an arrow person.
People have wondered if that was her arrow powers attacking is it Sabo or wait, who's in that scene where Emu and the elders?
Oh, it definitely seemed like that was Emu, but it does have like the arrow.
But it was also arrow shaped, which
it was arrow shaped. That's true.
Made me originally think that maybe she didn't have a devil fruit, which was kind of exciting, and then to find out that it is in fact a devil fruit, it makes me kind of like.
It also reminds me of Pride from Full Metal Alchemist.
I think Emu did as well, which I really liked. I do like that, like, nebulous. Well, I mean, we just haven't seen it. It was just silhouetted. We don't actually know. But yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Joey.
But yeah, I was not over the moon about this chapter. It's cool. It's a lot of setup. It's a lot of like explaining stuff. This kind of background about the king is interesting, although I feel like it's not the whole story. King Harold is a figure that, like, the more we see of him, the more he seems like maybe he's a bad guy after all. But that could be a misdirect too. I think I've gotten into like a weird spiral with Oda
Yeah.
where I'm second guessing my second guesses, you know.
And King Harold having the weird self-hatred thing because he had ancient giant blood and he ripping out his own horns, and like the weird giant the internation conflict amongst giants
Yeah, and
who
you know,
had
he
somehow
does
conquered the new world hundreds of years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does evoke the kind of the ranking of kings that Zach mentioned earlier. Like, it makes me kind of think of that, his design and stuff, and that's another instance of a character that is kind of multiple like levels of like sympathetic and unsympathetic. But you know, so I don't know. It's I don't know what to think of him yet, and that's interesting. I'm waiting to see, but you know, I just feel like it was good to get this information all out, and now we can kind of move forward with it. But that stuff just sort of, you know, feels like table setting for the moment. I do like kind of giving Hyerden a little bit more of a, like, we're kind of getting more of his personality, and he seems like a pretty, you know, he's always seemed like a stand-up dude, but it's nice to see these interactions with him and the crew.
Yeah.
I think this
He's a
stuff
dreamer,
with
it
him and
seems
Roto
like.
is very sweet. And then, you know, we get the reveal of Shamrock, which is interesting. I was disappointed to kind of eventually come around to the realization that he can't have green hair because we've already seen him in the anime. I mean, it's possible that Oda could go
just change their
back on
mind.
that or something, but I think that, and also to sort of fully give the like fake out of people possibly thinking that this is Shanks the whole time, you know, the audience included. He's got to have that.
Doesn't Garling
that
also
distinct
have the red hair?
I'm sorry, what?
Garling is like weirdly blonde, even when he's like old.
Oh,
But
It's the moon.
I like
It's the moon color, I'm sure.
the thing I like about his design, which is, and maybe seems silly, is just that he has long hair with that little braid, because, you know, half of his face forward, he looks exactly like Shanks, but without the scars. And so it would have been kind of a little weak if he had the exact same hair and everything, and he just seemed like a palette swap Shanks without scar, you know. So at least his character design has a little something to it, and the long hair does kind of give him this like haughty air, where he seems, you know, very regal and fancy and stuff.
Spelled H-A-U-T.
Agreed.
Another thing he has in common with Liquid Snake.
haughty couture.
Haughty, yeah. Haughty. And haughty. Yeah, Joey, go ahead.
That's all I've really got to say. I wasn't coming away from this chapter with a whole lot of thoughts other than kind of being not sure what to make out of everything that was presented. So I've been loving this arc so far, so I'm not like super down on it, but knowing that I was going to come on tonight, I was kind of like, I don't actually have a lot to talk about with this.
Ed, and then I'm going to come back around to Krystal.
Yeah.
Ed, go for it.
Yeah, this is an interesting chapter, definitely. The most interesting thing to me was the sort of learning more about the sort of the world of giants in One Piece. They were strong enough to, in the past, have conquered the New World, but their connection to the ancient giants and like Oars in particular is curious to me, and also how other people with horns are related to that, if they are, and like the dispute of you know, because they wouldn't let Hyruden's mother be queen.
Yeah,
But,
it seems like there's more of a story there, right?
Yeah. But Hyruden does seem like a good guy. He's definitely sort of in the Luffy mold of, you know, bringing all the giant kind together and being the king of the giants. So that's the most interesting part of it for me. It sets up more interesting things in the future. Like, were the giants involved in the Void Century, or did the world government like have to fight them or something? Oh, but I don't know. I don't know for sure. But Shamrock is an interesting sort of sinister character. It seems to have the world noble sort of disdain and looking down on people. that line of "Is this a religious thing?" It was very funny to me, and I didn't quite get who was saying that.
That was Gunko talking about, I assume, like the giants and their whole cultural identity. Because I mean, the whole thing with the celestial dragons and I assume the holy knights is looking down on every other person as less than. So I assume that came from that kind of place.
Yes, and Gunko's power doesn't really make much sense to me. So I'm curious to see or learn more about that and what you can do with it. But I think a lot of people are just going to want to get stepped on by her with the shots of her shoes in this one. But I do like the idea that Shanks is sort of this wayward son. He's the Rocinante. He's the freedom-loving member of the family, and maybe Shamrock is the proper celestial dragon son who looks down on people and wants to fight. Kind of.
Oh, hold on. There's a parallel there. Shanks and Shamrock, Loki and Haruden.
Yeah.
Yes, true.
Just clicked into place for me right now.
I would add, if the manga stuff around Film Red is to be believed, Shanks was left as a baby at God Valley and picked up by the Roger Pirates. So he didn't even have. I mean, I don't know how much he knew about his lineage. Even I assume he knows more today. Yeah. I mean, he's a 40-something-year-old man. And this guy is a pretty prominent guy. He's not Luffy. He probably reads the paper. Shanks. So they probably knows more.
Did they publish that in the newspaper? New elder appointed.
No, probably, but even before that, I'm sure the Holy Knights were, even if not to us as readers, are probably pretty well known in the world.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to like those who pay nominal attention, I assume. They did mention.
They gave me the vibe of like being very secretive.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. The five elders we do know had like the pictures everywhere. They mentioned...
maybe Garling's an exception. Maybe he's the face, but
yeah. Well, now Shamrock's the face because Garling has moved up. So does Shamrock. What were we talking about? Sam, go on.
I don't think your average citizen in the world is like seeing Shanks in the newspaper one week and seeing Shamrock in the paper another week.
What I was actually trying to say, sorry, was that Shanks, I don't think, had like the modus operandi to be like, I'm going to be the son that doesn't do that, because they never were even together. Like he was at birth,
basically.
Like,
fuck you, Dad.
No, I don't even think he had the fuck you, Dad. Yeah.
Shanks got to grow up unburdened by privilege.
Right.
Yeah.
So unlike Doflamingo and Rocinante and Loki,
he was raised by people who love freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Krystal, I think you're muted.
Oh no, I was low-key kind of talking to myself, but I was just saying like that was a good parallel too with Doflamingo. Yeah, I was just agreeing.
You could cut in, interrupting as I said.
No,
Ed, did you have anything else?
No, that's really all I had to say about the chapter.
All right, Krystal, round two.
Definitely.
Round two. As soon as you guys started talking, I was like, wait, actually.
That's always how it is.
So I did want to say, I don't really remember why they're going to the castle, if it was specifically to go see Loki and what was their reasoning for it. I would be interested in like if they're gonna free him or anything like that, which would be pretty crazy. And if they do, how would the Giants react to them doing that? If that's what they came there to do, because I do not remember.
Who's the them here? I'm sorry.
Straw Hats, Luffy and them. If they if they go and like, Luffy's like, hey, you're cool. I think he was saying, oh well, he was cool with me, and so Luffy's like, I'm gonna free him, and then everyone's like, why would you do that? Like that'd be pretty interesting. Especially with how do you pronounce his half brother's name? Hal?
Hiruden.
Yeah, I wonder how he would react to that also. And then the king, when you guys were talking about the king, he kind of reminds me of Thor's from Vinland Saga, kind of like, I'm done with violence, I'm gonna leave this life And I'm assuming that probably would be the same as him taking off his horns and then trying to be peaceful and like bring the giants together, which is pretty cool. He just looks very menacing and not like the kind of guy that would do that. But I feel like that's a cool.
And maybe that's why Hiruden is like, I want to be the person who brings all the giants together and be the king of the giants. Bring all the giants together, all giant kind.
Yeah, he's like, someone's got to do it. It will be me. And I think I don't really have anything to say really about what's her name? Gunko. I mean, she's cool. She fits fire. I know she's freezing. I would like to see something like the powers are cool. They're cool. They're cool. I mean, they're cool. I want to see something else, a million arrows or something. But yeah, and I think Loki's character is pretty interesting. He kind of reminds me of Doflamingo. And that's officially all I have to say.
I'll try and make my thoughts brief. I'll say Loki, I think, feels like a little more down to earth than Doflamingo in a lot of respects. Like, yeah. And I trust, we talked about this a lot ad nauseum last week, but I trust Luffy's perception of people, and I think most readers do, even if on its face it makes no sense. I think, like, you know, we all trust in Luffy in most circumstances. So like and Loki's reaction to these two put more faith for me into Loki, and like the fact that he sticks his tongue out like a toddler at that is great. I think that is a quality. Doflamingo ends up being this villain who is like
maybe the conflict between Loki and Harold is that Loki was like, we need to bring back the era of war. Giants together strong. We need to conquer again.
Yeah, I would. So this is where this is related. It is possible. What we were discussing these similarities with Odin and Loki, that, you know, they both had these larger than life stories that were mostly negative about them. And with Odin, you know, they ended up mostly being false, or at least, you know, the nefarious stuff around him was not true. And we were saying that might be the case with Loki. But it could be both. Krystal, do you have something to say? Sorry.
What if Loki's like, it was self-defense, that's why I had to kill my dad. You guys weren't there. It was just us. Like, what if it's like, kind of like how we were saying there's more to the story. Like, what if, who knows?
We don't know.
I would be shocked if that's not the direction it's going in.
Agreed.
Yeah. We're going to learn the truth, and we're going to be like, oh, like the story that everyone else got about what happened, isn't what happened, and Loki has a reason why he's accepting the punishment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we talked about this last week, or it was talked about recently, but the idea that the world government was pulling the strings with Harold, in that they wanted to pacify the population so they could take it over. I think we talked about this, or it was in the SGS that we talked about it. I think this is like this very last panel with Shamrock.
The world government was like, we have to convince the giants to not fight anymore because they could be a problem.
Right. And I think it was with Greg and Steven talking a few weeks ago, saying there needs to be a plot reason why Oda has kept the giants mostly out of the story thus far. And the fact that there are other races of giants and other nations.
Yes, the world government has successfully pussified Elbaf.
And that there's no, you know, giant presence in the series is interesting. And I do think with Shamrock here now at this moment, when we see like the next generation growing up, you know, with peace, the ideals of peace, and that maybe that explains why Loki did take some action against his father, if not killed. Maybe that wasn't, you know, exactly what happened, but maybe he looks evil because he was working at the behest of the government, or because maybe he wasn't evil, but maybe, you know, just was being used by the government in some way.
Yeah. I was going to say to that point, kind of like, Loki's probably like, we have to like fight. We're letting them kind of like lower our presence in the world, or kind of like our ability to be a part of society and stuff like that. So that'd be an interesting also conversation to kind of your point.
And it's like interesting politically, globally, like in the real world, we talked about like Scandinavia, today versus the Viking culture it was, being this like very first world, like, like we have a social safety net and, good things. But we also are not...
Bicycle monarchy.
I don't know if I've heard that term. But just like generally like committed to those things because they don't have to worry about war the way they did in the 1200s or whenever the Vikings were. And I don't know how much it goes into some prickly territory as to what Oda is trying to say with this, if anything. I'm curious, and I guess we won't really know until this arc ends. But I think this like greater evil that is enveloping the world personified by Emu is becoming the big villain of this arc. I feel like not Shamrock. I'm not particularly worried specifically about Shamrock and Arrow. Gunko. Specifically because, like, again, Luffy is like on a tier of his own at this point. Five Elders aside, maybe they'll be formidable, but I think the world government is setting itself up to be like the grand schemers here over what is going on in Elbaf. I'm super curious too, like, are these other races of giants on different islands? Or are they just different?
Like Saul's giants. We know that he's
right.
from a different giant tribe. Yeah.
Or he had said. So, like, where are these? Like, we had made the joke that when you're a giant, you set out to sea, and all of this is an island of little people. Oh, this is also an island of little people, and they just go everywhere, and they're just normal sized people everywhere. No, I'm just curious, like, where the other giants are, if anywhere.
They're where the other winged people are.
On the moon?
The wingaling.
Like all the other like neighboring Sky Island people that weren't upper or that weren't Skypia.
No,
something Rouge.
Like Rouge or like what Balkia, is that's where Enru's from?
Yeah, Balkan.
Bilka.
The other thing is Little Oars Jr., which is the character we all forget from Marineford. He's presumably an ancient giant that still exists. They say something like they no longer exist.
I imagine the purebloods were maybe Onigashima sized.
Yeah.
Right. It's true. I guess he would be smaller than Onigashima.
The Elbaf giants are kind of like Santa in that M&M's commercial. They do exist.
Exactly. And I would also say it would be interesting. Just, I guess whenever we get that flashback, I'm super curious what happened to the ancient giants. Why aren't there any? Are we going to find that out now, or is that really like an endgame thing? And we talk about like the creators of the world and the continent pullers and all that, and this feels super important. And I know, Ed, you've had that theory for a long time.
Yeah, I've been talking about that for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any final flashback?
Yeah, I'll stop there because I could go on forever, I think, talking about that kind of stuff. Any other thoughts on the chapter?
Just remember, Shamrock Shanks only available for a limited time at McDonald's this March.
Yeah,
I think Haruden's relationship to Loki feels very, Leia suddenly being Luke's sister in Return of the Jedi.
I thought they had actually mentioned that they were related prior to this in a chapter. Or in One Piece, had they?
Yeah. It said that they were brothers.
Totally.
We had just sort of inferred it. We did talk about it a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I think it was.
Okay,
then I think the roots of the name Hiruden in Viking culture also made it like implied potentially, like if you really do your research on these things, which I didn't. Anyway, Krystal, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I wonder if they're going to do a Buster call, because he's at the, because not Shanks was saying they're going to be put under the world government control. Which, I mean, if they aren't able to, would they buster call it, or would they like what would they do?
They would use that nuke thing, that island blaster.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Never
crap!
mind.
Yeah,
The space laser.
The space laser.
the mother flame,
The new
flame.
buster call.
Yeah.
Or we thought it was Uranus.
Mother
we,
flame.
we thought it was the ancient weapon Uranus, which is the one we have not heard about at all. But in ancient mythology,
take out
flying...
LBAP, the big blast from Uranus.
Yes, okay, you said it. I've been teaching my son the planets, and very careful how I pronounce that, because otherwise it's very funny. Anyway.
Oh, God forbid something be funny.
Oh, he makes enough poop jokes. I'm good. My life is poop jokes. What was I gonna say? I think Greg had mentioned like the fact that this arc started so happy and we had the party already means that shit's gonna go down. It is gonna be bad for Elbaf. So I subscribe to your theory there, Krystal, about the Buster Call or something. As we said, I think the Island Killer is possible.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Devastating moment for Robin and oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name. Is it Saul?
Saul.
Oh, whew. I know
You
my
got
One
it.
Piece. Okay, cool. Yeah, another devastating moment for them. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Will we be weeping at the end of this arc? Yes. Yeah, definitely. Anyway, any other thoughts? Otherwise, we'll move to the next segment.
Right.
Let's move on. This is the Piece Together segment where we take your questions, comments, theories, and decide which McDonald's beverage to... I don't know. I've lost this one. Anyway, Ed, what's the first segment?
Well, Zach, the first segment, as always, is This Piece.
There he is. Let's start. Sam, who is not lying down, and you won't be able to tell that by his voice. What do we have on our Discord channel from our Patreon subscribers?
First up on this piece is 56 NLs on the Moon, who says, St. Patrick's Day came early this year, complete with Shamrock. Emphasis on the sham. Something sham wow?
No.
But now that Shamrock's been revealed, what do you think Oda's plans are with him? Why now? And why do you think he'll impersonate? And do you think he'll impersonate Shanks at some point?
That would be a waste of
Strikes me as the guy. Strikes me as the guy who'd think impersonating would be below him or something.
Everyone should know
think
who
Oda
I am.
kind of got that out of his system with this lead up to his reveal. That story beat happened.
I think it was probably more...
It's kind of a head on a head. We know he looks like Shanks.
Well, I mean, I think it's more to trick the reader up until this point than it is for the world at large.
But it's a similar enough story beat that, I don't know.
The Straw Hats, though, like that, their reaction, I'm interested in. Because Luffy, I feel like, would not get tricked because he literally sacrificed his arm for him. Shanks, I feel like that would stick in his head.
Oh, Shanks, what happened to your scar? And your
arm?
arm?
Or Shanks, why'd you grow your hair out? Oh, yeah, you grew your arm back?
He says, oh, yeah, your hair looks...
I do feel like
you dyed your
Luffy
hair?
would take it extra personally if somebody who looked like Shanks was doing something he didn't agree with.
Correct.
So
yeah.
It could be like fuel for the fire.
Or it could be I can't punch Shanks's face. It could be one of those. Like the Mr. 2 kind of thing,
Another thought, Tashigi and Kawina. What's where are the potential parallels or
I guess he's done this beat
origin.
before. Yeah. What's next, Sam?
Next is Black Gendo, who says, Hey, OPP, can you make the title of this week's episode Shamrock Shanks?
Done. Joey,
Wow.
is it done?
Just for you.
That's
from now on, one Patreon subscriber gets to name the episode every week.
Don't do this.
No.
fortuitous.
Joey, you're killing me here. What's next?
Sailor Karna is Universal says, "Hey OPP, just wanted to tell you guys how awesome you are. I'm currently sick with COVID, but you guys are pulling me through it. Shamrock is such a dumb name that I'm coughing from laughing at it."
That might be the COVID. Yeah, I agree. It is a very dumb name. I think Shamrock is objectively a dumb name. I forgot to mention, I am ready to hate this guy for so many reasons. The hoity-toity is an archetype that I immediately. The what is it? The White Knight kind of character is immediately hate. So I'm excited.
See, now what if it turns out he's actually super chill? What if he's way nicer than you?
Yeah, he's the head of a fascistic army of the totalitarian government that controls the world. I'm sure he's chill. That sounds right.
Straw Hat Pirate 9 says, "I never doubted. I was always sure. I knew Shanks wouldn't work with the Holy Knights, so we have an evil, less better Shanks. Interesting. I'm excited to see Luffy's reaction to this imposter. Will he be fooled? Will he notice the lack of scars? Will he beat the crap out of him? I certainly hope so."
To be fair, we don't have enough reason to hate him yet. I'm sure we will.
Shanks, your arm is back.
He's gonna kill somebody.
Yeah, I'm sure
I feel like we're gonna get like Luffy's gonna get an Eneru face, and then Nami's gonna have to explain to him Luffy, look a little closer, and then Luffy's gonna be like, "Whoa, it's a mystery twin."
Does Nami know the
Look
whole story?
closer,
with
Luffy.
Well, I mean, Nami has deductive reasoning.
No. Who amongst the crew knows the whole the full extent of the history with Shanks and Luffy?
I think they know enough. I think they got the spark notes.
Yeah, he probably doesn't stop talking about it. I think they make that joke that
because I think even Zoro was like, "That's all you talk about." Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I knew it was in my brain somewhere. Sam.
Professional Poyo says, "Howdy, OPP. Welp, I guess my old dispiece joke about Shanks having a twin had more validity than I thought. Now with Shamrock revealed, I'm starting to completely rethink the meeting of the Five Elders in Chapter 907. But enough about Shamrock, let's talk about Rodo. I hate to say it, but I think I'm starting to warm up to this stupid-haired nerd. Do you think Oda is going to give Rodo a redemption arc? A Rodoption arc, if you will?"
No, we're not naming the episode that.
What's the worst thing Rodo's done?
Kidnapping.
Caribou kidnapped.
Yeah, Caribou's
slobbering
awful.
over Nami. But yeah, I don't think he's going to get a redemption arc, but I do think that Oda will portray him as sort of endearingly gross, kind of the way that he likes to do with Sanji, for instance, and that goes over better with some readers than others.
What's the grossest thing he's even said?
I think
objectifying the Straw Hats, literally. He kidnapped them.
I do it too. I collect cards.
They're not alive, as far as I know.
Unless
I think it's something about the way
you would be the
nostrils
bully in
flare up
Toy
when he
Story.
does it.
Zach,
Not all
would
at
be the bully in
once.
Toy Story.
Yeah, I would. All right, Sam. Next question.
OPP got me into Kid Rock says,
"Oh no,
not cool.
It's not good. Get out of it."
Hey OPP, if the anime used licensed music for their ending songs like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, what songs would they use for the arcs? For example, Dressrosa would be Copacabana by Barry Manilow. Whole Cake would be MacArthur Park by Richard Harris. And G8 would be In the Navy by the Village People.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Oh, that is such a good question, and I really wish more series had licensed music.
Yes,
but obviously.
MacArthur Park as featured in Beetlejuice.
That's a very good question.
Richard.
Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, I feel like, has to be somewhere. Skypiea, I assume. Or Dressrosa, because of Lucy.
Well, no, I mean, Alabasta would just be Sandstorm by Darude.
Oh, good. Yes.
Yeah, that's end credits music.
It's one of my favorite JoJo things too, like that general thing.
Yeah.
Motif, I don't know. And we've had a lot of JoJo discussion this week. That's not even related to the Gunko stuff. What's next?
It's just on the mind. Cramrock and Tarobang says, ahoy OPP, banger chapter as always. I'm so glad the whole idea of Shanks being evil was a sham.
I don't like all these
rock.
jokes. Bad joke.
Good one.
No,
I find the idea of some giants being related to ancient ones interesting, and I love Gunko's powers. I'm very curious as to what happened between Loki and his dad, especially the fact that Loki is being teed up to not be as bad of a guy as everyone says. What do you think Shamrock's peers are going to be? Wrong answers only. Have a great week.
I do like my idea of the conflict between Loki and his father being that Loki was more militaristic. He wants to bring back the era of war when giants ruled the seas and conquered the new world.
No,
yeah.
I think everything we know about their conflict is going to be a lie.
Yeah. I would be
or
interested
or it's complicated. It's definitely because I agree. I don't like Loki. Loki is our he's our Conus of the arc. He's our Rebecca.
Yeah, he's totally Conus of Rebecca. You're right.
He's our Kinemon. He's our
Shirahoshi.
He's yeah.
Didn't we talk about
so
the theory that
question
Shirahoshi was? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Was Shamrock's peers? Was that right?
Yeah.
It spelt it Piers. So
that's weird.
I'm guessing like the other holy knights is.
Yeah, I assume that's what I
is
don't.
my expectation.
I assume we won't know any of them.
All the other celestial dragons that we've seen aren't in good shape enough or hot enough to be holy knights, as far as we can tell.
Yeah, you have to be hot. That's true. That's
they're whole like a foxhound of.
They're like a boy band
crazy
kind of.
people.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Well, I think obviously his peers would be hearts, diamonds, balloons, stars.
you did it. You did the joke.
It's hard to do it without skipping
clovers,
over
and blue moons, pots of gold and rainbows, and be red balloons.
Oh my god, that's so perfect for Shamrock.
Can we make that the title, the whole thing? Shamrock, Shanks. No, we're gonna do the entire Lucky Charms. That would be great if that was all their names, but Gunko has already ruined it.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know about the Gunko shapes?
Oh god.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
those are
that's
the
a
ones that
special
get stuck
shape. The
at
arrows.
the bottom, and they're all like mushy.
The arrows, yeah.
The arrows. What's next, Sam?
Our last disc piece for the week is from Rockverse Isham, who says, "Hey OPP, now that we have another character with rock in his name, oh, good point.
No, that's
do
not
we
a good
need
point.
new Rock's theories? He can hang out with the new kid rock star, the cool Yeti Cool brothers, Rock and Rocky Port Incident, and of course Crocodile.
Well, I mean, I wonder if the Yeti Cool brothers are kind of some kind of giant related.
I mean, they definitely are.
They're huge.
They're skinny.
We've talked too much about
hairy.
the Yeti Cool brothers on this podcast. Generally,
You know what?
which is-
No, we haven't talked about them enough. Justice for Yeti Cool.
I'm shaking my head because I have no other response.
Is Yeti Cool like their family name?
Okay, let's move
Is
on
it
to the
Yeti Cool
next.
Rock and Ready Cool Scotch?
Oh, what's next, Zach?
We're going to Blue Skypea, which is on Blue Sky. We're taking questions now, which we haven't. I've been bad at keeping up with. But first one comes from Noodalator, spelt like a newt, not the other way. Hey OPP, regarding ancient giants, maybe that's why the Viking helmets on Elbaf traditionally have curved horns like Orz's. King Harold looks just like Kaido minus horns. A third son would add another element to him wanting the numbers and an era of war for Kaido. I'd add, though, someone put a side-by-side with Don Chinzhao, and damn, they look alike. I think that's an
I can see
accident personally, but they really do.
Loki has very distinctly like forward-facing horns.
Yeah, and he had a bandage on one, someone pointed out. So I'm assuming they're actual horns, but maybe he just wanted the warlike thing and has pretend horns. Like it's unclear.
They're just part of his helmet.
Yeah. Although he's the legitimate
Because Haruden did not adopt horns either.
No, I don't think he had them because of his.
Yeah, but like, does that mean one mom didn't have horns, but the other one did, or neither had horns, and it's like a crapshoot if the child has them?
And is it like the Fishman Island thing where like it's how does this even happen? Yeah,
it's like a 50-50.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Trick the TM.
And where do the goat horns come from?
Go ahead.
Patrick says it's obvious something is going to go wrong with Vegapunk's new clone. I'm expecting the clone is going to come out as a baby. Ooh, that would be like the one that Bonnie.
No, that's exactly what's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to happen.
What do you think will go wrong with them? That would be great. The Bonnie made the baby Vegapunk, as you may recall, way back.
That's true.
With her
maybe
power.
he swapped. What if the real Vegapunk swapped with the clone, and then through like age changing, we didn't notice?
Huh.
You know what? Sure. That's the last question I got. Any other thoughts on baby Vegapunk? That's where we're ending that episode. Let's round off.
I got Subreddit Archipelago too.
Well, I don't have that in front of me. But,
I do.
Way to make me look like the fool. Ed, do you have this week?
The JoJo's reference.
I got the Subreddit Archipelago up here. Let's do that. All right. First one comes from Electric Dynamite, who says, "Hey OPP, posted last week but pieced together with short. I didn't write in 2 chapters ago because I assumed someone would notice, but it seems both the main podcast crew and the SGS missed Gunko's powers were actually revealed in 1135. It'll be more obvious after this week's reveal, but if you would go back to page 12 of chapter 1135 and look at the bottom right panel in the wide shot, notice the giant's thighs and forearms. Now go to the left of the. Now go to the left. To
like center, I'm being sent on a maze here. Okay, got to
the center bottom wide shot. After the attack, you can see tiny bandages wrapped around his limbs. Finally, the big panel on the last page clearly shows these bandages on all 4 limbs, along with the cracking sound of what I'm going to guess is bones breaking and dislocating. So maybe the arrows were wrapped around those giants' limbs, squeezing.
I mean, I'm looking at it. I don't know if anyone else has.
I didn't follow the instructions and look at it before.
I guess like
1135.
Like
yes.
Yeah, I'm in
1135. Like on page 13, Jarl has what looks like bandages, but aren't in the other.
Not
pages.
Jarl. We're not. No, I don't think we.
The guard
we're
giants?
talking about Jarl.
No, this is the guard. This is
the
guard
giants. Yeah, I mean, I see the similarities, but yeah, I don't. I mean, I guess you could infer
it's like an I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't even see like any arrow anywhere. Do you?
Well, you don't see the arrow. It's just
no. That's what I mean. He said the power was revealed, so I assume. I mean, of course, it was implied. It retrospectively infer. Like Oda knew what he was doing, but we at the time did not. What's the next question, Ed?
Sure. The next one comes from one blasphemous dude who says, "Hey OPP, now that it has been revealed that the descendants of ancient giants can have horns, do you guys think that Kaido and Yamato are also descendants of ancient giants? Kaido mentioned that he and Yamato are Oni. Could Oni be the Wano term for ancient giants he picked up during his time in Wano? Kaido and Herald do look similar in my opinion. Which other tall characters with horns could be descendants of ancient giants, like Moria or Bastille was the other one he said.
I think all characters are descended from a shared ancestor.
Yeah. And also, is that Herald's sword that's stuck in Jarl's head?
Oh, that's actually a very good question.
Check the
I'm checking right now.
The hilt. Yeah.
The hilt.
Yeah.
It is a very particular hilt in Jarl's head.
And he also says,
this.
they also say, cheers and keep up the good work. Insert Maji Media ad.
Okay, well, we'll do that.
Wasn't it Loki who did that?
Yeah.
Or was it like, did he use his sword to do it?
Well, I guess it would. Oh, you know what? He's covering that, like the unique part of the hilt. Let me look. You know what it might be? Because it does curve in the same way at the bottom of it. Like it makes that, I don't know what that symbol, I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, I mean, it could be. He is covering that very particular spot where that's like particularly unique in the. I really like that theory now. I think, again, things are not as they seem. So we thought Loki did it, but did he? And what does Jarl actually know about all of this?
Oh my god, the king
Or maybe
is
he has got
evil.
like brain damage and he doesn't remember.
He does have a sword through his brain. So
All right, we got more questions here. Next one is from Dan Beecher Art, who says, Hola, OPP. Now that we know about other giant tribes in other countries, do you think Oda is finally paving the way for the reintroduction of the much-loved Yeti Cool brothers?
oh my god, move to the next question.
Thank you. Happy Sunday. I hope the Chiefs lose today. So that game is still
they?
going on as we record. But I'll move on to the next
losing?
one.
No, they're winning right now. Sorry.
Amiibo Hunter 000 says, Hey OPP, wild and awesome chapter as usual for this arc. Zoro really speaking from experience when he comments about taking guts to rip off your own horns, considering he got partway through cutting off his own legs to escape Mr. Three's wax candelabra.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah,
You mentioned that.
With it being pretty much confirmed that Shamrock was the one to visit the elders in chapter 907, who do you think the pirate he was talking about is? I always thought it was Shanks talking about Blackbeard's threat to the world in general. But now I'm thinking maybe it's Shamrock warning of Luffy or even warning of his own brother Shanks. I'm not sure. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for being a continuous shining light in this ever-darkening world. Keep up the great work and awesome podcasts. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Now I feel like we have to consider the possibility that it's Buggy.
No, I think the answer is kind of more obvious. I think it's Loki. Because remember he had the special bounty and everything? And
Loki
that's why he's there.
Pirate?
That's the question.
No, he's an outlaw.
What
I
makes
don't.
someone a pirate?
Well, I guess did he have a crew and stuff? Did he,
Going out to sea,
sail the world? Yeah.
attacking world government
Being on a
affiliated
boat.
countries? Yeah.
Well, I mean, he did propose to, or Lola. They did have that almost marriage thing there,
Right.
so it's possible he was at Whole Cake Island and he traveled as like an ambassador. Or that's my guess. That's my personal guess.
Yeah, I was originally thinking that. Well, when I thought it was Shanks, I thought he was talking about Luffy. I still would maybe think he was talking about Luffy, but it'd be pretty interesting if he was talking about Shanks. But I don't think it was Shanks. It'd be funny if it was Buggy, though. That'd be interesting.
I guess like what would, and I guess this will be crucial at some point in the story, but what would their opinions of Shanks even be? Like him and his father. The Figurlins, whose name I hate. Anyway, let's round off the show.
All right.
This has been episode 853 of the One Piece podcast for January 27th, 2025. Thank you all for coming on. Before we get no evil twins here, as far as we know.
Unfortunately.
Although we should have named our evil twin counterparts and what lucky charm they would be named after. That's actually a good question. Krystal, where could people find you?
You can find me at Krystal Shanelle. There's 2 E's and Krystal is spelled with a K. Yeah.
Anything you're working on
Oh,
recently that
wow.
you want people to know about?
Great question to ask. I actually just pitched this short film and I'll know if it's getting produced next week. So I'm very excited for that. So next week I'll either be super happy or super okay, that was a learning lesson. So we'll see what happens in a week.
Okay. Well, let us know. Joey, what about you?
You can follow me on Blue Sky. I'm at Joey Weiser and Joey Weiser Comics on Instagram. I'm on Twitter as well, but not really using it as much, but I'm there.
Buy his book.
And yeah, and yeah, check out my graphic novels, especially Ghost, Hog, and Dragon Racer, which were my two newest ones, but especially The Littlest Fighter, which is coming out in March. This is a kaiju-inspired graphic novel with a lot of monsters and monster fighting action and sweet characters and humor. It's good for kids. It's good for people who like comics for kids. And I have a secret for you. One Piece is a comic for kids.
What?
And it's I'm really happy with how it came out, and I'm really looking forward to people checking it out. You can order it wherever you order your books from, but if you want a signed copy, you can pre-order it from Avid Bookshop, AVID, like an avid reader. If you order it from Avid Bookshop, that's my local bookstore here, and they will make sure that I sign a copy before it's mailed to you. So do that, or throw it in with your other book orders on whatever book website ordering service you like to use. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
And big thanks to Joey for doing the image this week, which we, as of this moment recording, haven't seen yet. But Joey's art is always amazing. I love it. It's the combination of adorable, funny. Yeah, I'm not just sucking up to him because he's
Thank you.
right here. It's true. Sam, where can people find you?
They can find me on Blue Sky at LC Sam, and they can find me on the wheezing corpse of Twitter at Lucky Chainsaw.
Yeah,
I like that description. I think so. A lot of our crews at MagFest this week, and I think someone posted something like, instead of Sonic X, it was Sonic Twitter, formerly known as something like that, and that I did enjoy.
Sonic X, formerly known as Twitter.
So yeah, something like that. Sam, I can't impart onto the audience how weird it is talking to you when you're lying down and there's nothing there.
Should have put my should have turned my
no,
camera
it's funny. But it's never going to be conveyable to the audience. Ed, where can people find you?
well, I am still on Twitter occasionally at Edward E. One Piece. I'm also edwarde.bsky.social on Blue Sky. And check out the Weeb Trailers archive on Twitter as well. Check that out. And Zach, you're Zach Logan at One Piece Podcast on Blue Sky.
I'm ZachLogan.com. I changed it, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like
Cool.
That's more recent. Yeah.
Yes, and the podcast can be found at onepiecepodcast.com, featuring editorials by Kirsten, extraordinary musician and friend of the show.
And writer.
Yes, exactly. And the podcast is onepiecepodcast.com on Blue Sky, and we do post, some things on Twitter still occasionally.
Yeah, the wheezing corpse of Twitter.
Please support us on patreon.com/onepiecepodcast. Post and we will read your question in Dispiece if you are a patron. That's how you get in there.
We have the Full Force to Watch 4Kids series, which definitely check out. Feel always relevant.
Send us an email at onepiecepodcast@gmail.com. Subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts if you can. But that's all I've got. So, Zach?
Yeah, you could also call us our phone number that we totally don't answer. 347-497-MAJI. That phone number again. 347-497-6254. Call anytime.
Anytime.
With your questions, comments, and theories, or how to get to crazy, noisy, bizarre Elbath, which I'm going to have stuck in my head the rest of the night, which is fine. We have some cool stuff coming up on the podcast. We have the voice of Kiku coming up next week as our guest, Kaylee McKee, who I believe they are caught up with the manga now, so joining us for the full show. We have Prosy D, Sungwon Cho coming up in a few weeks, depending on when the Oda break is. We have the voice of Kermit in Baby Muppets, Matt Danner, on the show. Abby Denton will be joining us again.
Oh, that's always a good time.
I know. I'm excited. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And more. If you have guests that you want to hear from, including if you want Krystal back, please let us know. And I really take all suggestions seriously, except you, listener, specifically. But everyone else, no, I take all suggestions seriously. And yeah, as we said before, please check us out on Patreon if you have not. We'll see you next week with another chapter. What is this, 3 in a row? Where it's like it's a holiday or something?
It'll be chapter
1138. Or it's not a holiday. Yeah, we'll see you then, everyone. My name is Zach.
My name is Ed.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.